أيها المسلمون.
It gives me great pleasure to say that we have Mr. Ken O'Keefe. Ken O'Keefe is a former U.S. Marine who served in the 1991 Gulf War. He renounced his U.S. citizenship, alhamdulillah, on March the 1st, 2001, devoted his life to the promotion of peace and human rights, and may Allah guide him. He founded the Truth, Justice, Peace, Human Shield Action in Iraq 2002 and Aloha Palestine in 2009. After serving as a captain with a Free Gaza movement, he was also on the Mavi Marmara when it was attacked by Israel. Now what a turnaround that is. It's a great pleasure. Thanks very much, Ken O'Keefe.
Thank you all very much for having me, and let me say this word terrorism, this is the most abused word of our time. And I look back to the 80s when Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan were the heads of state for the United States and Britain. And what did they call Nelson Mandela at that time? A terrorist. And Nelson Mandela, many people maybe forget, but Nelson Mandela refused to renounce violence, and that's why he was serving a life sentence without parole. The apartheid government of South Africa offered him release if he would publicly state that he renounced violence. He refused to do that, and I can completely understand why he refused to do that. And as far as I know, if I were Arab and saying what I'm about to say, as far as I know, there are laws in place that say that I would be glorifying terrorism. And I challenge the British government to do to me what they are doing to my Arab and Muslim brothers and sisters all the time. Because the truth of the matter is there's one rule for Arabs and Muslims, and there is another rule for white people, Western people. This is the world that we live in. And it is the world that we're going to pass on to our children unless we commence to serious business in dealing with these issues. The word terrorism is clearly the most abused word of our time. If we understood and adopted a logical definition of the word terrorism, there would be no question at all that the United States would be the #1 terrorist of the 20th and now the 21st century, and it would have that title hands down. There would be no one even close. I've been to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I've met survivors of those two bombing events, and it's safe to say that what we did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki was literally create hell on earth. Never has America even apologized, much less acknowledged the great crime that it committed. Instead, it would rather make arguments to say that it saved life by preventing an invasion of mainland Japan and so on and so forth. These are the same types of arguments that are used by Israel and other state sponsors of terrorism. Always they can come up with a reason to call what they do justifiable acts of war, whereas anybody who resists them is a terrorist. That is a lie, and we need to see it as such, and we need to stand by those who do what we ourselves would do if we were in a land that was being invaded. I say to the British people and the American people, if it were reversed, and somebody was coming from halfway around the world, invading your land, killing your family, stealing your land, paying your brothers and sisters to collaborate with them in the invasion and occupation of your land, what would you do? I know for myself there is no way that I would sit by and allow my family to be threatened and murdered. I would fight with whatever weapon I had, and I would make sure that any of the invaders and occupiers that I got my hands on would not be able to do to any more of my brothers and sisters what they were there to do. That is not terrorism. That is justifiable defense of your rights, your lands, and your humanity. And until we reach a point where our governments do not carry out acts of state-sponsored terrorism, we are justified in doing what is required to make sure that they don't do to anyone else what they are doing currently. The attack on the Mavi Marmara, I think, really exposed the tremendous power that we have. Think about it. The most powerful individuals in our world Israel is their plaything, it's their project. The Zionist project is their extension of power. It is their way of maintaining perpetual conflict in the Middle East. It is their way of also using Israel as a proxy to prop up corrupt governments in the Arab world that do shame to Muslims and Arabs to a great degree every day. Without that Zionist project in place, they will not be able to maintain the policies that they're intending to continue. They will not be able to treat the Palestinians as dogs as they're doing every day. What we got on that ship was merely a taste of what it is to be Palestinian and live in the occupied territories, or to live in Gaza, and it was nothing compared to what they're dealing with every single day. There are so many illusions in this world that we live in, and one of the greatest illusions of all is bred into us from day one. It is the reason why I was so stupid as to join the Marine Corps and think that I was involved in some sort of honorable endeavor. I believed that my nation was the greatest nation in the world. I believed that my nation was involved in protecting, fostering freedom and democracy. Only an indoctrinated and ignorant individual could believe that, and yet I did. And I'm happy to admit that I was ignorant. I was stupid. And that's exactly why I joined the Marine Corps. But I'm grateful for that stupidity because it allows me to see my brothers and sisters who are still indoctrinated and who do not have the capacity to think for themselves. I can understand your position because I was once you. I'm not looking down on you, but you need to wake up and understand that you're being used in a game. As myself, I have experienced in the Gulf War, they gave us their own heroes, experimental drugs. Those drugs are directly linked to Gulf War syndrome. Many of us have died as a direct result of that. We were also exposed to depleted uranium, nuclear waste, which not only destroys those that it comes in contact with in the present time, but future generations, lives being destroyed. I don't think anything defines crime against humanity more than the use of depleted uranium, which America has been using in Iraq, they've been using it in Gaza, and they will continue to use it because we have not exercised our full power. And that's what the Mavi Marmara and the Freedom Flotilla really shows us. Think about it. 800 people roughly. 800 people, 6 ships. A few $1 million. Think of the amount of money wasted on nothingness. Parties and ridiculous things. Millions and millions wasted all the time. We managed, people of conscience, to get a few $1 million together. We managed to get 6 ships. And we managed to get 800 people who sailed towards Gaza. And the message was, what you're doing is unacceptable, and no matter what you do, you can kill us, you can imprison us, but we're going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming until that policy is over. Because you're not going to decide it, we're going to decide it. But it will not happen until enough of us realize our full power. Seriously, if you're looking for the problem, you need only look in the mirror. What are you doing? What am I doing? What more can I do? Am I really serious about affecting a better world? Some of us are meant to be in the lead. Some of us are meant to be the workers. And make no mistake, all roles are equally important. Those who are in the lead have to know that they will very possibly lose their freedom and possibly their life. And in the case of this beautiful woman who is rotting away, to be separated from your children, to be held in dungeons, these are prospects that I myself might get to enjoy in the not too distant future, since Israel has given me the great honor of calling me a, quote, terrorist operative who was going to Gaza to train commando units for Hamas. I have to say, I will take that label, given who it's coming from, one of the great terrorists of our time, Israel, backed by the biggest terrorist of our time, the United States, who's also got me on their terror watch list. I will take that label coming from you with honor and pride. I am glad, I am happy to be grouped with those who refuse to accept the unacceptable, and I will not sit by and allow you to do what you do without making damn well clear that I will do everything in my power to make sure that your day of tyranny ends. If enough of us and all of us, Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists, whatever you are, if you have a heart and you have a conscience, let us agree to disagree on those things that we don't agree on, but let us come together for those things that we agree on. And I think we all agree that human beings all are endowed with rights, and anyone who stands in the way of people exercising their rights is an enemy to all of us, regardless of where you come from. We all have a common enemy. We must put our differences aside and focus on what we agree on. If we do that, I am quite sure that we will have a better world. And I'll tell you what, as a father, I intend to do everything in my power to hand over this world in a better state than I have it right now, because it is, as I say, unacceptable. So those of you who are here, you're serious, you're ready, let us get together, let us affect a better world. It's not up to anyone else, it's up to us. Thank you.
أيها المسلمون أيها المسلمون أيها المسلمون أيها